I just want to welcome everybody again to this special panel discussion on the power of digital media and achieving gender equality, being hosted in conjunction with the 65th annual meeting of the UN Commission on the Status of Women. I'm Andrew McDonald. I'm the operations manager for MALA, the Muslim American Leadership Alliance. MALA is an arts and culture nonprofit committed to community building through the preservation of oral history, cultural exchange, and inclusive social discourse. Today, we're honored and very excited to present a really cool, diverse panel of brilliant women from a range of industries and backgrounds to talk about the role of digital media in gender dynamics, advocacy work, and empowerment. And I think we'll look a little bit at past, present, and future. So we're very excited for this. And lastly, it's my pleasure to introduce our moderator for the day, Ahmed Flex Omar. Flex is MALA's Deputy Director and Chief Experience Officer, and he's also a MALA co-founder. Flex has a really extensive background in community organizing, mentorship, crafting really unique cultural connections in the Chicagoland area and nationally, and I think it's safe to say globally at this point. And so I think without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Flex, and we'll be on our way. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Andrew, for that wonderful introduction. And I'm happy to have all of you today on the panel. And thank you for everyone that's participating with us. Normally, this event would be at the UN, and we'll all be meeting in New York, but due to the pandemic, we're not able to be there. So first of all, I want to send my prayers to everyone that's been affected by the pandemic. And this event was actually supposed to happen last year, but it was canceled. And I want to thank the United Nations and UN Women and UN CSW for coming together and helping us and allowing us to do a virtual event. The topic today is very important. It's the power of digital media in achieving gender equality. And digital media has really come up quite a bit because of the pandemic. We're all using Zoom, comfortable with all these different digital tools with the anniversary of the pandemic. So we're gonna have a really in-depth discussion today, but I want to first introduce my panelists. And the first panelist is Maria Taher. And Maria and I, with MALA, we've been working very hard, together for some time now on ending FGMC, and it's been a wonderful experience working with you, Maria. So with Maria's bio, Maria's worked in gender-based violence now for over a decade in the areas of teaching, research, policy, program development. And she's also the co-founder of SAIO. It's an award-winning transnational organization with a mission to empower Asian communities to end FGMC. Maria, that was a brief introduction, but I would love if you can tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Great. Hi, thank you so much, Flex. And thank you to MALA for inviting me to be a panelist today. But just to give you a little bit more info about who I am, as Flex mentioned, I've been working in the gender-based violence field for over a decade in various issues from domestic violence to sexual assault, trafficking. And my focus for the last 5 years has been specifically on the issue of FGMC, or female genital mutilation / cutting, for those who are not as familiar with the abbreviation. And we do a lot, or I co-founded SAIO with 4 other women, and SAIO is an organization that does work really using storytelling and the power of storytelling to raise awareness of this issue and to really work with communities and educate communities and stakeholders that are working with impacted communities on this particular issue. And so I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to talk more about the work that I do, and particularly how we use digital media to achieve our mission as well.
Thank you so much, Maria. And next, I would like to introduce Sally Magoo. How are you, Sally?
I'm doing very well. How are you, Ahmed?
Excellent, excellent. So I'm wearing my pin today. It's the Presidential Volunteer Service Award from President Obama. So
excellent.
So thank you for being here. And you're the Deputy Director for Development at the Obama Foundation. I'm going to let you tell us about what you do because you do so many cool stuff. So please tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, thank you, Ahmed. That's very kind of you. As Ahmed mentioned, my name is Sally Magoo. I am the Deputy Director of Development at the Obama Foundation, where with the Obama Foundation, most of my work is securing resources, funds, so that we're able to actually have the leadership development programs that we carry on in the foundation domestically and globally as well. We also have very focused and specific programs to help with gender equality, giving girls and women opportunities to become leaders. I also have a lot of experience working with Model United Nations. I've been a part of the Model United Nations family since I was in college a long time ago. And I'm on the board now of American Model United Nations. And what that is it's a convening place for college students to come and learn about how the UN is run. We actually run it exactly as the UN. We usually have about 1,200 students from all over the world, and they usually convene here in Chicago. But last year, due to the pandemic, we actually had a virtual conference. But I've been involved with that for a very long time, and I am just so honored and thrilled to be here today. This is my first event with Mala, but just to be around such strong leadership, you, Ahmed, as well as the wonderful women on this panel. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely, thank you so much. And then next we have my friend Holly Wuckler. And Holly, how are you today?
I am doing fabulous. I'm back in the Midwest and the sun is shining and I have no complaints in sight.
Yeah, we always love when the sun is shining in the Midwest. So you and I have been working together for some time now, probably around the inception of Mala, on diversity and inclusion projects, and especially in the fintech world. And I want to tell the audience that Mala started, fundraising early on through crowdfunding, through websites such as Global Giving, and little small PayPal donations, and now we're here. But Holly, I want you to tell us a little bit more about yourself, your work, in the non-for-profit area, but also how you're empowering folks in the corporate arena, especially women entrepreneurs.
Sure. Well, first I want to give a props to WeWork. Flex and I actually connected through WeWork. Was a WeWork fan. Like before he knew me, he said he always heard me walking into the room. So working on that, but it was a really great way to partner. We ended up having to have the lab split up, and Flex and I sat next to each other, and we started doing diversity and inclusion before it was a thing. I used to sneak it under the radar, and I told each of my managers that the other manager, because we had a lot of different reorgs. So each time I was like, yeah, we do at least 2 diversity and inclusion events. And they're like, that's really cool. I'm like, I know, we should do more. And so slowly but surely, Flex and I started partnering together until we did a huge event for InvestNet at Chicago Ideas. And that's one of my favorite events I think that I did. It really focused on, bringing together different industry leaders and focusing on building financial wellness for everybody. It shouldn't be some hidden information that you need a special key to unlock. So that's a little bit about how Flex and I know each other. We just happenstance started to work together because our backgrounds are so different, right? Like I literally grew up like living the wonder years. You know, my parents would call my name when it was time for dinner. There's, you know, all the kids are playing capture the flag, cops and robbers, you know, and then I meet Flex and I hear how different his background was, right? And that's what I think is the importance of you know, really diversity and inclusion is getting together with people that, you know, you have completely different backgrounds. And there's one quote that I heard that I really love. It said, diversity is being invited to the party, but inclusion is being asked to dance. But then I thought about it. What if you don't like to dance? Right. And so that's really something that I try and do is create programs, you know, within the financial world that focus on targeting women and targeting the underbanked and, you know, really just passing this education that I'm lucky to have learned because of my FinTech Friend Network. You know, if I want to learn about something, I just look at my LinkedIn and call somebody, but not everybody has that opportunity. So really what I've been able to do is share that knowledge, working with Flex, getting to communities that I would never be able to reach on my own.
Thank you so much, Holly. So now we're gonna get into the discussions and the questions. Mari, I would like to start with you first. You've mentioned that storytelling is really important for the work that you do. How have you been able to do it in a digital way?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm happy to talk about that. So SEO started about 5 years ago, really out of this recognition that there wasn't a lot of awareness that FGM, or again, female genital cutting / mutilation, happens within Asian communities as well. And that's a whole other conversation. But just so this audience know, FGMC is a global issue that impacts over 92 countries, but there just wasn't a lot of information. And I grew up in a community where it occurred. So it was something that I knew about my entire life. And, you know, that really led SEO, the co-founders that came together, to recognize that we needed to have this global we needed to create some sort of shared platform where we could really elevate the conversation and make it known that this was an issue within this community. And, you know, one of the first things we did was actually an online study to really understand the prevalence of FGMC within this particular community that I grew up in. From India, the origins are from India, but they have diaspora all over the world. And there just hadn't been any work done before, but we were able to launch that study, and we were able to have over 400 women from across the world take part. And it was an online, again, tool and study, and found out that 80% of the women who took part had undergone FGMC. And we also found out that 81% said they didn't want it to continue on to the next generation. And when we learned that, we really were like, wow, that's huge. So why is it continuing if, you know, the majority of folks don't want it to continue? And that really aided in our understanding that it was because of silence and because the topic just was not in the public sphere. And because of that, we really started understanding we needed to use storytelling, and technology, particularly digital media, was so helpful for us in creating stories and being able to uplift people's voices on this particular topic. And so we started with, after that, a website and a blog. And then, you know, we just started doing many other campaigns that really allowed women and community members impacted, because we really see this as an issue that everyone in the community needs to talk about, to whether they wanted to share their story on a blog privately without their name or publicly with their name, to be able to share their experiences. We started doing social media campaigns, digital photo campaigns, and then one of our most kind of known programs, and a program that I'm really excited about and so glad that we've been able to do it for the past 3 or 4 years now, is our Voices to End FGMC program, which is a digital storytelling project. And it's where we bring together survivors and those impacted in the field, and also advocates, to really bond with each other, but also create space where they can actually talk about their experiences. And then they learn how to create videos, short 3-minute kind of videos. So they learn how to create a script, how to put together pictures, how to storyboard, and then they have this tool that they can use for their own education and outreach. We use that for our education and outreach purposes. And that program has just really really been successful, and we've been able to use those stories in a variety of ways, from speaking with legislators to work on state policy around FGMC, to working with communities, to educating healthcare professionals. And just, again, it's allowed us to provide a platform so those impacted can actually share their experiences, so that we're educating other stakeholders. And we, in the pandemic, I'll just quickly end by saying that we wanted to continue this. In general, it was something that we did in person, but we realized that particularly with the pandemic and everything is kind of forced into this virtual world too, that we could continue this by doing an online workshop. And so this past January, we just did our 5th workshop online. So instead of 3 days in person, it was over a course of 6 weeks. And that was, we were amazed to see still the interest in conducting and being part of that. And those stories are hopefully going to come out a little bit later this year. But again, it's just, those are just kind of some of the ways and what we've realized in terms of how we can use digital tools to really create social change on this particular issue.
That's incredible. What tools are you using for the workshops?
Yeah, so for the workshops themselves, we meet, well, I'll just give an example of the last workshop since it was all virtual too. We met via Zoom, but then we partnered with an organization, Story Center, and they have a platform called WeVideo, which is it's a cloud-based video editing software that's really easy to use. So you don't have to come in with any video editing skills. That's something that we actually teach all the participants. Some of the participants already have some knowledge in that, but it's something that's, it's user-friendly. So we're able to, over a course of 6 weeks, we meet on these weekly meetings. The group meets together. And then we also did a few one-on-one virtual meetings to kind of just work with each participant individually. And right now we're in the process of finalizing all of their videos. And then in the past, after the videos have been finalized for our previous workshops, we also actually, the storytellers usually will write sort of what we call a reflection blog, just something to help them if they want to give more context to why they took part or to their story. So that kind of piece is available. And again, I think the idea behind all of it is to really help them find agency with their own story again, which is really helpful in the idea of healing and how do you heal when you've undergone trauma. So there's that process. And then we use various platforms to really distribute the videos through social media like Facebook and YouTube, Instagram. And we've been lucky to be able to also partner with our other organizations, but also with media to help promote the videos further. So we use it all, everything we can to really, really distribute the videos as wide as possible too.
Hey, Maria, is that WeVideo something people have to pay for, or is there a comparable free tool that you could share for the audience?
Story Center has a contract with WeVideo, so they are able to use it. I don't know if they might have I think they have a free trial basis too. Okay. I'm not as familiar with that because I've only used the subscription through this project. But it's something definitely, I think if people are interested, check out, it's very user friendly. So I think that if you're interested in learning about how to use video or create videos, it's a really great tool to utilize to kind of start that education.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very powerful tool. I know asking survivors to share their stories is really difficult. How are you able to do that in a digital environment?
Yeah, that was a concern of ours as well too. We fortunately actually did a pilot virtual workshop 2 years ago prior to the pandemic because we had some funding to explore what that would look like. And that really helped us in this time when we were sort of forced into only being able to do a virtual workshop. And I remember Amy's the person from Story Center I work with, but I remember us just being really blown away by how invested and how much people felt supported in that virtual atmosphere, even in the pilot workshop. So I was hopeful that would happen again, and it did. And I think part of it is just, we create space we use a lot of ethical story guidelines, but part of that is also includes building trust and also ensuring confidentiality. So even though these stories are shared with us, we don't share the stories with others or what the details are. And one of the things we do in the actual workshop, in person or virtual, is we make space to do what we call as a story circle. And that's actually a foundational story center approach. But it's basically creating a safe space where people can kind of just share their experiences, what they're kind of going through, maybe the ideas around what kind of story they want to tell. And it's a very kind of supportive space, allowing you just to kind of talk to others and then receive some thoughts or feedback around what you discussed. And if you have questions about elements of a story of yours that you might want to share, the group is able to give you feedback in that way. So before any of the kind of actual story production, like creating the script and putting the video occurs, that story circle is kind of that first piece. And I have to also say that SEO's been around for about 5 years, but I think a lot of our participants are connected to us in some way, where we've had some trust building in a previous engagement, whether it is they took part in another event, or if they've heard about us, or if they've read our website. And so I think that kind of also helps bridge that trust. And then it's sort of almost word of mouth sometimes too, where somebody's been involved and then they connect with others. And we've seen that, again, that's just another byproduct of storytelling, is that ripple effect that can occur. And in the digital world, we're able to see that even more in terms of just being able to reach out globally to make those connections.
Absolutely. I mean, word of mouth is really powerful. And if you're sharing human, stories, we've been able to measure on our Facebook, what the organic reach, and it's so high, when you share just a post, as opposed to sharing a human, story, people connect with it on a much deeper level. And that's where you get all the shares and people commenting.
Yeah.
It's really incredible how all of that comes together.
Can I share one little anecdote?
Yeah.
If there's time.
Sure.
If that's okay. I just remember, is that I think after the first workshop happened, we had 10 stories after the first workshop, and I was at a conference, and I was doing a side presentation on FGMC, but not on the specific Voices project. But one of the attendees came up to me, and it turned out she was this pretty well-known researcher who I had done research on this issue when I was in grad school for social work, and I heard her name all the time. And so it was almost like kind of a starstruck moment when I saw her. But at the same time, she was telling me she watched the Voices videos and was really found them so incredibly useful, and she uses them in all of her classes now. She's an anthropology researcher too. And I just was shocked, but she was they're so well done and they're really great for educational purposes. And whenever she's talking about this issue, and that was sort of, I think, one of my first experiences of realizing that I don't even know how the Voices videos are being used a lot of the time. But that was just, it was humbling, but also I'm glad that I'm seeing it being used in ways that I didn't originally think they would be used.
That's amazing.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
That is just that's what you want to happen though. With the word of mouth marketing, that's what I went to school for. I'm a huge dork in that term. And it's so important because people don't realize what happens. How cool is that? Someone you admired is now admiring you. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Amazing. And that's, we're going to segue now to Sally. Sally, through your work with the Obama Foundation, how are you able to work with the leaders and the Obama scholars and the fellows, globally now because of the pandemic? How are you able to sort of recreate those experiences digitally?
Mm-hmm. Well, just like everybody else, 2020 happened and we were like, oh wait, now what? We have all of these wonderful leaders that are eager and very excited to learn those leadership skills that we're trying to train them. And these are year-long programs. So the Obama Scholars, it's a year-long program. The Fellows, it's a 2-year program. The Obama Leaders that we do in different continents, and now we're going to start them here in the U.S. as well. It's a 9-month program. And so we're like, wait a second, we have all of these great leaders, great programs that we've developed lined up. What do we do with them? But luckily, we also work with great leaders that are saying, you know what, you just have to be resilient and figure it out. And so it was kind of also inspiring just to get their stories, and they're like, no, we got to find a way to do it. You know, I might be in the middle of nowhere, Africa, but I might still have Wi-Fi. Why don't I try to actually do this online? So we scrambled a little bit in the beginning, but we figured it out, and we carried on all of our programs, actually. I think you know, what Mario was saying earlier is like the power of storytelling. That's what we use to get those leaders connected with each other. It didn't have to happen in a physical place. And in the matter of fact, we actually found it to be sometimes a lot more helpful because once you connect people, they used to connect in the beginning of the program where they all convene, let's just say the Africa program, where it was in South Africa in the beginning. And then they go through this training, and sometimes they have Zoom calls, sometimes they don't. But it was
Hey,
more.
Sally, can you explain a little bit more what this program is? Because I'm not sure if all of our audience knows, but I'm sitting here wanting to understand like what the Africa program is. Like, what do you have to do to even, you know, be able to be a part of it? Just give a little background. Do you mind?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, thank you for that point. So the Obama, I'll continue on with the Obama Africa Leaders Program. So the Africa Leaders Program is a 9 months leadership training program that we have usually have over 20,000 applicants to. It is for young leaders, I believe ages 18 to 40. And with that, it's you get paired up with a mentor. We talk about all of the different aspects of, you know, creating, let's say, for example, a nonprofit. Let's say that you you care about gender equality, and that's something that you're very passionate about, and you want to work on it, but you don't have the tools of how to get you there, of how to start a nonprofit, of how to put on Zoom calls, of how to find funders. And so it's a very comprehensive and holistic approach to creating nonprofits and creating change in your community. And so, yeah, it is. It's absolutely, it's a wonderful program. And so we get so many applications every single year. And I'm so glad that I'm not one of the people that has to look through the applicants, because I don't know how I can turn anybody away, because they're all just amazing, incredible people.
How many do you guys get to pick, like per program, like for the Africa one?
I believe it was about, how many did we have last year? I believe 200 is what we ended up getting. We don't choose over 200.
From 20,000, you had to bring it down to 200. Oh my word!
Well, not me personally, thank God.
Yeah, thank goodness.
But and honestly, like sometimes you read some of those stories and it's just so inspiring. And so and then if you ever become part of the Obama Foundation family, they become part of that. And there's also an expectation at the end is that you take what you learned and you actually go back to your community. I mean, they still live within the community, but you go back and you apply that to the community and you start teaching other people too, so that it was meant to help activate those young leaders. And so, but we also have a very similar program in Europe, in Asia, and then this year it will be in the US as well. And then we'll go on to different continents. But so with programs like these, we're like, wait a second, how are we actually going to do that if we can't be physically there? So what we ended up, like I said, using is just the power of storytelling. Okay, so let's tell a story of what we want to accomplish. Let's bring everybody on we started using Zoom every day. We started using Google Hangouts. And one thing, it actually made it a little bit easier for our mentors, because they're all also paired up with, mentors, or they would have speakers. The speaker doesn't have to be physically there, but they could just be online answering questions. It's easier. They do it from their home. There's, of course, we miss that aspect of being physically there and actually inspiring people. But we, hopefully we'll go back to normal. And like I said, these will forever be Obama leaders. And so they would always be invited to our events. We also do feature their, if we have sessions, like we might be able to feature them usually every year, except last year, we have an Obama Summit here in Chicago, where we invite those leaders to come in and share their stories with, our supporters, with the President and Mrs. Obama, with other, future leaders. And so it just, and, last year we didn't do anything, but, this year it will hopefully be different. But yeah, we've absolutely used digital media. And I think one thing that we're very lucky to have at the Obama Foundation is the power of the name on our door, and just the power that they have was their social media. The foundation has its own digital platform, but we also, the President and Mrs. Obama would also post from their personal accounts just about some of these inspiring stories of the leaders. And if you're a 10-year-old kid on the south side of Chicago, you see something like that and you're like, wait a second, I can also be that person. It's also very inspiring. So we hope to continue to do that. We'll absolutely keep on doing it. We're realizing we can actually save a lot of time, money, energy doing it this way. And I think, one thing that we also want to do in the future is to evaluate the success rate of these events virtually versus in person. And, I felt like honestly last year we made the best out of it and it turned out great. We still had the programs. They might have looked a little different, but we still had all of our programs. We still have incredible leaders that are really doing terrific work within their communities. So I feel like overall it turned out great. And, after we do the evaluation, we'll be able to say, okay, so clearly this was the best way to actually do this event virtually or digitally.
I just want to say something really quick, Sally. Like, I love what you're doing. As a little girl, I love the analogy of teach a man to fish, and that's like what you guys are doing, and I literally like fishing as well. But, it's pretty cool to see, like, we're talking about the ripple effect and the fact that you guys are encouraging that, it's, leave no man behind, right? Or woman behind. Like, I just really love what you're doing. I just wanted to say it's really cool. I really didn't even know about this. So I'm sitting here learning so much on this channel. So thank you.
Yes. And Holly, I'm going to come to you in a second, but I just want to ask one last question, Sally. Sally, did you all have to create a proprietary software in order to do this, or you're just using existing digital tools?
For now, we are using existing digital tools. But one thing that we have always hoped to do with the Obama Foundation, this was even before I started working there, the vision of President Obama was to create millions and millions of Michelle and Barack. And that's how he would say it to us. It's not the Presidential Center, this foundation, is not there to make him look good. He doesn't want a statue. He doesn't want a library. So it's more of a physical place, but that can also be connected to anybody, anywhere in the world, to help inspire and empower them. So what that means is in the future, we want to create a platform that is that's actually going to connect people to issues they care about. So to give you an example, Ahmed, let's say that 5 years from now, the Presidential Center is open, and it's a center, it's a community center. There is a museum, there's a forum, there's a plaza, there's an athletic center, and it's open to the public. Most of it is free. Only specific parts of the museums, like you actually have to pay to go in there. But it's mostly free and open to everyone. And so let's say, Ahmed, you say, I want to come in and visit the Presidential Center. And you get your tickets in advance. Hopefully you get your tickets in advance. And we ask you, what are some of the issues you care about, so we can create that experience for you as you come in. So, let's say you care about gender equality and climate. And so we'll say, make sure you visit exhibit X, Y, and Z. There's some work going to be that we're talking about in terms of gender equality. There is, another exhibit or another space at the center where you can find more information about climate change. And then, you go do your whole experience. As soon as you're done, we send you either a text message, an email, or, we even we'll probably also do phone calls, but you'll get some sort of communication from us, from the foundation, saying, you told us you're from Chicago, and you care about X, Y, and Z. Here are some of the nonprofits in your community, let's just say on the south side of Chicago, they're actually doing work with gender equality. If Maria is a part of our communities, is a part of our platform, her nonprofit would be on there as well. And if it's something that you actually do care about. So, and so you go back and you connect with those people. This would also be available digitally. This is not just going to be, I have to be physically there, but if you want to be a part of the Obama family, the Obama leaders, and you said, these are the nonprofits that I work with or I'm interested in, we can give you that information just to help connect you with the right people in your community.
Well, thank you so much, Sally. And I'm excited about the Obama Presidential Center. Hyde Park in south side of Chicago was my first home. So I always tell people that I come, from that neighborhood, and President Obama, that's where his home is still there too. I went to events across the street from his home at the synagogue, so thank you all for everything that you're doing. We're really excited. Holly, thank you so much. Appreciate your follow-up questions, to Sally. Holly and I actually started a C-Series Real Talk program where we interview CEOs. So Holly and I normally co-moderate. So this was awesome. Holly.
Yeah, sorry about that, Flex. I was kind of jumping in. I was realizing that. I'm like, yeah, I'm actually on this panel. I'm not supposed to be moderating this one.
It's okay. It's all great. It's all great information, and we're very happy to have you here. I want to talk about your work in financial wellness and why financial wellness is important for gender equality. And also, with fintech, can you just explain to folks, what fintech is, with folks that are not familiar, and then tie it all back to gender equality and financial wellness?
I will. And really quick too, Sally, Flex and I are working on a stealth business idea, and we're going to have to talk to you about it. I'm in market research mode right now. And one of the things I was tasked to do yesterday, we just kind of talked about. So we're going to have to talk offline, but bringing it back to where we are, fintech, right? It's kind of funny because the word to me is so commonplace now. But 5 years ago, when I was doing IT staffing for developers for banks, I didn't know what fintech was, even though it was happening. And now there's a new word. I'm going to ask you all to see if you know. Flex, you don't count because you know. Do you know what a neobank is? Right? I know. I didn't either. And I'm in fintech. And so that was my first assignment at my new job, is to create a neobank. And I am like, feel like sometimes I'm like an Alice in Wonderland running down the rabbit hole. I'm like, well, what is a neobank? Why do I care? Right. And so that's one of the things I think that's interesting about fintech, is it's trying to help everyone bridge everything together, but they're using all these words that are so confusing. So a neobank, what I'm calling it, is like a new start bank. Or, it's basically just a virtual bank. So there's no branches, right? And because of the pandemic, it's extremely important, right? So that's just one aspect of fintech, but let's bring it back to the beginning. So fintech is actually just short for financial tech. So it would be something like, everyone on this call, have you guys used Venmo before? Right? PayPal? Mm-hmm. If you've seen those commercials, you want to get a mortgage in your underwear, right? Like sitting at home. So it's all of these things that are trying to help connect the dots, and it's usually behind the scenes. The new role that I have, it's really cool. As Flex knows, I've done a million panels on the future of fintech because I just wanted to be on the front lines. In my old role, I was able to really work with the cutting edge startups, but it's a bigger company. It's been around for 20 years. In my new role, I'm at a startup that's only been around for 5, 6, we'll start in September. I was number 15 on February 1st, and I think we've got like 40 people now. And so it's pretty cool. What they're trying to do is really on the front lines. What we're doing is we're helping community banks. So community banks that really would like to engage with fintechs, but there's so many rules and clients, right? And fintechs, they'd like to engage with the banks so that they can grow their business, get the licenses they need. But there's a lot of really tricky things going on there. Depending on your growth size, sometimes a bank can't support the fintech anymore. So the fintech would need to find another bank. But the fintech doesn't know that, right? So there's all these different rules and, a pretty intricate game of chess going on. And so what my company is doing is really being that connector. So it's allowing anyone who has an idea for a fintech to come onto our platform, and we're going to teach you how to do it and what you need to do with an easy 1, 2, 3 process. So it's pretty exciting to see that we're really allowing the community banks and the fintechs to build their dreams, like kind of build their dream style. If you build it, they will come. So that's kind of where it's at on the tech side. And why is that so important to females in financial wellness? Well, the first thing I would say is I'm extremely lucky to be at a company that really cares about females' opinion and really is focused on diversity and inclusion. We have one of our leads at our company, Kirsten, actually in her free time, the first weekend she was starting here, did a financial literacy camp for young women. And she's just doing that in her free time, And so I plan to be doing a number of workshops with Flex. We're planning on targeting the West Side. Flex, what areas were you telling me that we need to focus this financial wellness camp on?
West side of Chicago and South.
Okay. Yeah, because the whole thing is we're talking about is there's not even banks for these people that have their ideas. So how if they don't have a neighborhood banker that they can go in and talk about getting a loan? They don't have anyone that's offering them advice and guidance. And so that's one of the things that's a really important pillar for me personally, just because I even went to nobody taught me budgets in school. You learn accounting, credits and debits, but what about life? One of my teachers, my logistics teacher in my little private business school I was at, was like, wait, do any of you guys even know what it means to balance a checkbook? Do you even understand this? And so he decided, he goes, logistics is over today. He's like, we're going to learn how to have a budget, And so I think that everyone should be able to have that information. So that's one of the things that I'm excited about that I've been able to work on. And, working with Flex really allows me to get into different communities that might, not think I belong there. So that's one of the things that I have to say. It's been really fun for me working with Flex.
Thank you so much, Holly. And Holly, you co-founded a not-for-profit. You were part of a not-for-profit in the fintech world.
Yeah, so that's how I got into fintech. So it's kind of funny. So I was thinking I wanted to move to Florida then. God, why do I keep wanting to move to Florida? It doesn't seem to work out for me. But I was thinking I wanted to move to Florida back then. And I got a part-time job. I applied for this part-time job. And my manager, Jason Henricks, randomly knew my sister, Katie. I mean, I'm one of 7, but this is kind of odd. So I apply for this job and I get to the last interview and he's like, are you Katie Wuckler's sister? And I was like, yes. So, and it's a small world in the financial tech world. My sister and I are both in it. And so I helped him get started, and I was just catching him up on expense reports and helping him start to do some public speaking. And I got him one speaking slot called The Future of FinTech with a group called Technori out of Chicago. I don't know if you Chicago people know Technori, but they're really cool. I don't know if they still do events. I mean, this was BC, life before COVID, but we did this event and people asked if he was going to start a group because he had started one in Boston. And so he looked at me and we laughed. He's like, look what you just got yourself into. So we started something at Citizen before Citizen was gone in Chicago. Missed that restaurant. It had $2 tacos, and on Tuesdays they had $2 tecates and $1 tacos or something like that. And so we called it FinTech Tacos. And so we met. There was first, just a couple of us, and the group started growing. Josh Gordon Blake from Pangea, Rumi Morales from CME. It was Chuck Mackey. We all just started growing. And it was, so then there was a group of 12, 15 of us. Shane there was so many. It was so fun. And we started to realize, wait, we're onto something here, And we worked together with Lisa and Jason are actually the co-founders of FinTechs. I right now am the co-captain of FinTech Exploration. I'm looking for new markets. And one of the big things I'm also on the Women Leaders Council for FinTechs. What we're trying to do is really find different markets that are underserved. For me, I'm from Michigan, so I have been giving back to Detroit because, before the pandemic, she was doing so well. And that's something I'm really passionate about, because I don't know if you guys have been keeping up on it, but everyone's talking about the small businesses that, you know, are lost, and my heart goes out to them. But what about the women who have lost their jobs and their careers right now because of the pandemic, because they've had to stay home, right? There's an article that I read. Hold on, let me grab the stats. I have it right here. So the article that I read, it said that according to an average, women spent 7.7 more hours a week than men in unpaid childcare. So it's forcing a lot of women to quit their jobs altogether. And this one was really confusing to me. Britain in the past has required employers with more than 250 staff to submit gender pay gap figures since 2017 to try and close the gap. But last year, they just suspended the requirement because pandemic. But what? Why would we suspend, like, just because the pandemic, when women don't get to, sorry, I digress. I just don't understand how that makes any sense. And I get it that the women are the natural caretakers, but we need to do something about this, because they're saying that in 2022, jobs should start to return, but they're not going to be the same jobs. And where the women were in their trajectory, in their confidence, and in their, career path, they're going to have lost a lot of that. And then even just losing that, you lose your self-confidence, right? And so that isn't as easy to build back up, So I think for me, I really hope that we can do something about this, because I don't understand how the pandemic changes the fact that the gender pay gap shouldn't exist and that women should have a seat at the table. So that's something I'm really passionate about, trying to find a way. And I don't know the way, but that's why I partner with people like Flex and you wonderful ladies, so that I might see the problem. I don't know how to fix it, but I'm someone who's gonna bring the problem up.
Thank you so much, Holly. I mean, those numbers are definitely alarming. That's why we need folks like you, to sound the alarm and make sure that the women in our community are not forgotten. And there are numbers to back this up. When we lose our women in the workforce, the economy suffers as well. So it's really important for us to be there and empower the women in our community. I would like to now go into the Q&A. And the first question from Ona is, some organizations and activists who educate on anti-racism, gender equality on Instagram and Facebook often talk about being censored on the algorithm on the platform. Have you dealt with this? What tools do NGOs and activists have to deal with if there is an algorithmic censorship? I personally haven't dealt with that, and Facebook is actually a partner of Mala, and they've been really helpful. But Mari, I would like to ask you, since you're in the space with working with survivors, how has your experience been with Facebook and Instagram?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I haven't had personal experience on being banned in terms of content that we've shared on any of the social media platforms. However, we had an incident right when we started with I think it was our Instagram or our Twitter page. I can't quite remember which one. And I think it was Instagram, but this was quite a few years ago. Our Instagram page was shut down and we had no idea why. And we tried to contact Instagram through sort of whatever information we could find about support to connect, and it was really difficult. And then we decided we would just create a second one, and that one was shut down. And we just did not really understand what was going on. And then finally, and I don't remember exactly who it was, somebody had a contact that worked at Instagram, and we were able to reach out to them and find out they were able to basically reactivate our account. And what our best guess was, and in conversations with them, was we were being reported as sort of or other folks were reporting our page as kind of violating community standards. And we weren't violating any community standards, but apparently it's actually a very common thing with human rights activists. Backlash, unfortunately, is a very common situation, and I've experienced a lot of backlash. And so what we feel what was happening. And there is actually a very powerful opposition to the work that we do. And just those that really want to state or try to say that FGMC, because it's a social norm in communities, they want to defend the practice. And as we were, this is unfortunately the downside of technology, is we can use it, but so can opposition. And so we saw very much that as we were getting more engaged and vocal, so was opposition around this and really touting this idea of religious freedom. And there's nothing, I want to say there's nothing religious about this, but that is sometimes used as a way to justify why this should continue. And so our Instagram was getting shut down because the opposition was basically, it was kind of amazing how much support there was, but they were just reporting us constantly. And that's kind of what happened to us. And it was our first time dealing with it. And then learning that this is something that happens to many human rights activists too. And kind of it's a drawback to technology again, but that's the only closest experience that I've had with that.
Yeah,
absolutely. Hey, Maria, real quick, what are some of the violations of the community standards? Like, so I agree that you weren't doing it, but what is like, you know,
I don't know. We just had so many people reporting us, because you can report, you know, on Facebook or social, if anyone's familiar with this platform, you can report. Yes. And we had such high numbers reporting us because there was a very organized opposition that we were shut down.
But that's what I'm wondering too, is it could even be a bot, right? Like people can program these bots just to to do this. And that's the thing, like, that's the thing that's scary about it. Like, I'm on the inner workings of technology. So I'm sitting here thinking like, that might have even been a bot. Somebody could have programmed it so that it's, you know, and gets your pages shut down. So I think that you're right.
It could have been a bot, but it also, there was when I mentioned there was an organized opposition. So there's been a specific few different groups, but there was one specific group that had been putting out memes against our organization, and just, you could see their Twitter accounts, you could see their Instagram accounts, and how much they were. It's not fine, but it's unfortunately a reality of engaging in any type of human rights work. It's kind of mind-boggling when you're in the field, but there's opposition that comes up.
No, absolutely. And technology is a tool, and it could be used, you know, for good, the way we use it, and other people can use it, you know, for the wrong reasons, to bully, to intimidate, and so on. But the more we can amplify the voices of the majority, who I believe are, you know, good people, because, for example, on Facebook, Mala fan page, we're 5 out of 5, you know, and when they started the organization, folks were even telling me, you're going to become a target. Why would you put the word Muslim in the name of your organization? But the algorithm and the humans behind the algorithm, because sometimes we forget that these are humans that are, you know, airing out, you know, their frustrations or their happiness and so on. And we might see it in emojis, or we might see it in so many different, you know, ways. But to have that 5 out of 5 review just validates, you know, the work that we're doing.
We had at the beginning had our reviews turned on for SEO's page, and it was, you know, really great at first, but then that organized opposition started actually putting out bad reviews of us on our Facebook page. So we had to turn our review comments off as well. So it's just, I believe the majority of folks are good people. And I actually think sometimes opposition is a minority, but have louder voices. And that's why you need to actually work to really help give platforms and agency and support those who are afraid for legit reasons to share, but, you know, help build that support. And that's, I do think technology there's a lot of good that comes out of it, but yes, you have to be prepared for the bad that can also come with it.
Absolutely. And thank you again for all the work that you do with survivors and victims. And, you know, I want to ask a question to Sally. Sally, I see that your cat has joined the panel. First of all, what's your cat's name?
This is Bella.
Hey, Bella.
She clearly cares a lot about gender equality and digital media. So there she is.
That's awesome. So the next question is for you, and it's in the context of UN CSW. We're asked to think about change on a global scale. this can be overwhelming. What have you learned through your work with the Obama Foundation about the connection between local engagement and global impact?
I mean, that's a really, really good question. I would say I've actually learned this from one of our participants, one of our Obama Leader participants. And he, the individual said, I don't want you to look at me as marginalized. I don't want you to look at me as a problem. I don't want you to look at me from, you know, the outside or the skyscraper and saying like, you know what, I'm going to come and be your savior. I'm going to come and help you. I want you to look at me as an opportunity. And that really did, it stuck with me because instead of just thinking about, I'm going to come in and fix everything for you. And we're going to do it my way because my way works. I'm actually going to say, I'm going to invest in you and help you become and feel empowered and inspired and give you the tools to actually do it for yourself. And I honestly think that would be the best way to make that global change. It's not, you know, as Holly mentioned earlier, like, you know, teaching, it's a similar mentality of like teaching a man to fish. And so it's, you know, we're not there to save them. We are there to help them and empower them and give them the opportunity that we have, that I, you know, might have, that Holly and Maria might have. And that's how we're approaching, and, you know, and honestly, that's how I also approach my work, but that's how we're approaching this challenge at the foundation.
I love that so much. You're giving them the tools to succeed, right? Because you can't teach ambition. You know, you can't, like, you just, I feel like you can help somebody find their passion, then they could be ambitious, right? Mm-hmm. But like, you're giving someone the tools, and then like once I learned something, it's so fun to teach someone else because then you learn it better, right? Because if you're going to teach someone else, you have to learn how to simplify it. So I just want to say I really love what both of you guys are doing. Like, it's just warms my heart to see that, you know, you get so heads down in what you're doing. And I'm so like, financial wellness, people need to know about this. But it's great to see that, you know, there's a lot of other women out there that are working on their causes too. So love to see it.
Thank you.
So we're reaching the 2-minute countdown. So I'm going to ask each of the panelists in a couple of sentences, just tell us what they're working on for the future in their respective roles. And Holly, I can start with you.
I can go first. What I'm working on right now is really thinking through how to help women that are in bad situations and get out of them. You know, I was in my marriage way too long. Because I felt fear of failure. I didn't know how to do it. So I'm working on some different ideas there to find, like, you know, maybe it's workshops, maybe it's, you know, virtual versus in person. Maybe I create a neobank about it. You know, I've got some really cool ideas right now that I'm working on, but the main goal that I want to do is, like I said, financial wellness. And one of my partners, good friends, Kalila Lyons, she's got this wonderful idea that she's working on, and I love it. And it's basically financial, in my mind, I'm going to paraphrase it, it's financial wellness from the playground to the boardroom, right? And that's what I would love, is that, you know, let's gamify it. Like, I love puzzles and games. The first thing I did when I got back home from Florida was buy a hula hoop, a couple squirt guns, and that dice to make up games. Like, I want to have fun, you know, and I mean, childlike fun. That's really where you're going to find your idea.
No,
so,
that's awesome. I mean, if we can all activate the inner child in us, you know, it's amazing what can happen. And that's why Mala's focus on arts and culture. Thank you for that, Holly.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Maria, you're next.
Sure, yeah. Well, we're definitely continuing our Voices project, and we're looking for ways to expand that as well. And some of the things that we've been thinking about is actually how to create an independent website for it, but also some tool. We've had a lot of requests for screening guides and tools like that so that people can utilize the Voices story. So that's one thing. But another project that I'm really excited about and we launched in February was our bio program, which bio means brother, and it's our male engagement program. So we're really trying to be more intentional about bringing men into the conversation around FGMC and really, you know, making the case for all genders being involved on this issue. So I'm very excited about that. And we launched it February 6th, which is International Zero Tolerance Day of Female Genital Cutting. And we'll see how it grows. So that's one thing.
That's incredible. And I know a little bit of Hindi, so I got it.
Oh, great.
but yeah, Tora malum hai.
Oh yeah, perfect.
and Sally, you're next.
Yeah, so professionally, honestly, I'm just going to continue to work on securing those, resources, those funds, creating those connections to carry on our programs. I feel like because of last year, we have a lot more work to do now. And on the other side of it is also just evaluating how last year went, looking at it and seeing what actually worked, what didn't work. So that's something that I'm, professionally excited about. Personally, I am working on was our Model United Nations conference. We changed it virtually last year. We were actually asked to do, instead of just having one in person once a year, they were asked to do two. Because there is a need for that as well. And so that's something that, we're trying to figure out. So it was my free time, been doing some Model UN work. And it's there are a lot of challenges out there, but I think just having these kind of these webinars and these events and just meeting such inspiring women and working with Malik, it's just been very inspiring. It gets you excited to actually go and do the work that you do, and then just you're inspired by these wonderful people. So thank you for having us here today, Ahmed.
Absolutely. It has been a pleasure of mine. And I personally was raised by women, and I also raised my three sisters. So this is really, the topic is really near and dear to my heart. And Zainab and I and our board have been involved with CSW now. This is our 6th year. I'm wearing the tie today that I wore for our first event. And, that event was for Malala's screening. And as you all know, Malala fought really hard for girls' education. But we were I was on the panel with Zainab and also my board member, Emil, who's also a male. And one of the big topics that we wanted to discuss, from the film was how Malala's father was so supportive of her, even though she was in a violent environment. So it's always important to address how men can be part of the solution. And there's a lot of men, that support gender, equality, and we just need more of them to speak out and also support. I would like to say thank you to all of you for being here. And I want to also thank the audience and the Mala community. Please, if you want to connect with us, reach us at info@malanational.org, or give us a like on our Facebook fan page. And you can stay up to date, and all our videos are housed over there. So we're broadcasting live at the moment on Facebook, and give us a feedback. I mean, I love the 5 out of 5, but feedback is the only way we learn. So I appreciate all of you for being here, and have a blessed day. Thank you.